So, Darren Daily member Ronald Balin sent in this request. Quote, I try to get my 2 kids to watch Darren Daily with me every morning at the breakfast table. Sometimes that happens, most times they're still sleeping. They're both in their 20s and seem a bit stuck. What is some motivational advice that you would give them to help them get unstuck? I see, Ronald. That is a hell of a monkey that you're passing on to me, making me the bad guy here, but I get it. As the law of familiarity dictates, they have probably stopped listening to your advice, so you're bringing in a third party. Smooth move, Ronald. Okay, well, I would say to them, which is a great reminder for everybody listening, let's go to the first principles of life. The first rule of life is no one owes you anything. Not your parents, not your government, not your God. You are responsible for everything. Everything in your life. It is all on you now. Anything. Not your parents, not your government, not your God. You are responsible for everything. Everything in your life. It is all on you now. All of it. And I know that this can be confusing because in your youth, everyone else took care of you. They took care of everything. Your parents paid the mortgage on the roof over your head, filled your refrigerator with food, and filled your closets full of clothes. They funded your vacations, maybe even paid for that education. You didn't earn any of it. It just happened for you, out of their obligation to you, or as payment for that drunken tequila night that they spent 9 months before you arrived, whichever. And now, since that is the only reality that you have known, it's easy to get faked out and to continue to think that that's just life. And that's how life is going to and should continue for you. It's easy to think that everyone, the rest of your life, is going to do the same for you, that they owe it to you. But now, where you are in life now, it's exactly the opposite. Instead of people being obligated to you and taking care of you, you're now obligated to everybody else and have the responsibility to take care of them. If you are obligated to your employer, you need to deliver or you're fired. If you're an entrepreneur, you are obligated to your clients. You need to deliver or you are fired. You are also now obligated to your government. You go from being a dependent on a tax form to being a full-fledged taxpayer. Pay up or you're fined. And if you don't, you're sent to jail. No one around you owes you anything. And you owe most everybody else around you an equal exchange of value. And you have to give first in order to get. This is a critical understanding about the transition that you are making. As Carl Jung would tell you, you are transitioning from childhood into the youth phase. You see, when we are children, we have no problems, right? That's why children, regardless of how poor their surroundings, are still playful and joyful because they're conscious free. They're unaware of their prosperity in life. In childhood, we are innocent and naive. Everything is fantastical and seemingly possible. You could become an astronaut, an NBA star, a superhero. As children, we are completely dependent on our parents. We are not completely born yet to our independence. We are still enclosed in the psychic womb of your parents or those responsible for taking care of you. Then the youth phase begins. This is the process of becoming fully conscious. The phase begins around puberty and goes through age 35 to 40. This phase is when the demands of life put a harsh ending to childhood dreams, or at least are supposed to. But a lot of people try to cling to their childhood level of consciousness and rebel against the forces of the reality in the world. They want to do nothing but indulge their cravings or pleasure for their esteem. They have exaggerated expectations, underestimation of difficulties, and unjustified optimism. Those who rebel against the transition want to remain unconscious, or at most, conscious of only of the desires of the ego. And unfortunately, our current culture only indulges this further. Social media radically amplifies the self-indulgent narcissism of the ego. And well-meaning parents have become overly coddling, keeping their children, regardless of their age, in the dependent state of childhood consciousness. Parents think that they're helping, and they think that they are just doing what everybody else around them is doing, so it must be okay, but it is handicapping their children. It's hindering their growth, it's blocking their transition, and it's stunting the maturation of their human development. So what is the answer? Grow up. And I mean that lovingly, and in the support of your personal growth, and the advancement of your heroic journey. I say, leave the womb, leave the nest, This isn't only physically, but emotionally and psychologically. If your parents won't kick you out or let you go, you need to leave. Stop relying on them for help and support. Figure it out on your own. Do it yourself. And then invite them over to bask in the success of your own making. And limit the time that you suckle your narcissistic ego on social media. It's hindering you in so many ways that you might not be fully conscious of. All right, I told you that you might not like the advice, but often the advice we need to hear the most is the advice that we want to hear the least. But it's up to you whether you hear it and heed it. Some will, and they will be greatly benefited by it, but I know most won't. That's why those who do are called the exception. And that is why only a few in any circle, regardless of their childhood, background, intelligence, or talents, ever rise to the top. While everybody else, well, just retweets motivational quotes and reads about the adventures of other people in their newsfeed. Oh, and if you want to look smart and be helpful to your friends, pass them this message. Know that these messages do expire, so I encourage you to do it now. And join us back here each morning, and we'll help you leave the nest, break out on your own, and start your heroic adventure.